Great shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all being in this episode of the Coma. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports fam. Much love to the fam. In this episode of the Coma, we'll be going over the Saints blueprint for 2026 contention. Shout out to Yard Barker, Sports Illustrated, my brother Kyle T. Mosley. We'll give a cap look as well. We'll talk about 5 extensions and re-signing that the Saints should consider for for this broadcast. Also, we'll take a look at the NFC South carousel as well. So, with that being said, man, much love to you guys. Please do us a service: hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the share button. Man, it helps out the stream as we deal with this new algorithm. And also, man, just a shout out to FanDuel. FanDuel is the official sponsor of the Sports Coma. FanDuel, man, check them out when you can, man, and all the odds. Remember that with the playoffs still here, man, you can check out some of the odds and everything that is available for football, basketball, everything, man. The largest and the best and safest is FanDuel, man, and you can see all of that coming up. So anyway, with that being said, man, let's get right off into it, man, as we go into this broadcast. And listen, fam, we know that the what's going to be interesting about this whole situation with the Saints is a lot of people are excited because they believe that the Saints can have a major step up, right? A major step in the right direction, just like you've seen teams like the New England Patriots do. Once they got a quarterback, they added pieces around them, and they basically had a 1 year leap to the AFC Championship game. Now, they just needed the leader to put it all together. Now, they had the pieces there. They just, underachieved. But when you made the right coach, he put it together. He understood the culture, and they were able to build on that and have an opportunity to not only stay healthy enough to be able to be competitive week after week and be in the AFC Championship game, rather, against the Broncos, a former Sean Payton, who's back in the championship, a conference championship game. So that's very interesting as well. And it won't have to take 2 or 3 years, for the Saints to get there. Like we got an eye, not only just getting the quarterback, but also having an identity to play behind is a major part of the losing. If we had salvaged that, we can be able to then be about the business of winning. And the Saints appear to have found an identity offensively and defensively, as they are now on the men to get healthy. They'll have guys like Alvin and Kendre Miller. Plus, we can go into free agency and address and upgrade key areas of the team. So in this broadcast, let's just drop right into the Saints blueprint as discussed here. Now, let me share my screen with you to go a little bigger there. For completion, now this is for 2026 NFC South contention, which is what we want to do. So the vibe shifted around. The Saints halfway through the season, a perfect offseason. So the Saints would have looked like a complete teardown at the time. The Saints were in the running for the #1 pick in the draft before Tyler Shuck took over. There was speculation about the possibility of earning the #1 pick and trying to use it on somebody like Fernando Mendoza. With no sign of hope, a perfect offseason at the time looked like a complete rebuild and the overhaul. And he ain't lying. The way the Saints look, man, you would definitely think that. So it's not the case. When Tyler Shuck took over and the Saints went 5-4 and 9 starts with him in 2025, now he's firmly planned as the team's starting quarterback moving forward. The Carolina Panthers, the Saints beat twice with Shuck under center, won the NFC South with an 8-9 record. With the way the Saints played and the 9 starts with Shuck, they could compete for a division as soon as next year if they can just run it back. But that wouldn't be a perfect offseason. The Saints should be aiming higher. So as we get into it, let's see what the author of this article wants to say what that is, right? Pending free agents, right? Of the group of pending free agents, finding a way to keep at least Cam, DeMario, Alante Taylor, and Town will be a good start. If Taysom Hill wants to play another year for cheap, the Saints should find a way to keep him as well. If the Saints can keep at least 3 or 4 here, that's a step in the right direction and would help keep leadership in place for a team with plenty of young guys. Now, listen, a lot of people is like, man, let's just move beyond these guys. The motive has changed, right? The ideology has changed because when you talk about Cam Jordan, who led the team with 10.5 sacks, Demario Davis had over 140 plus sacks, and Alontae Taylor, who's not a old, a older guy, but a guy that played well in Staley's system. And then, of course, you mix Taysom Hill and Taysom. Out of those four guys, Taysom's the only one dealing with a shoulder issue. He got hurt in the last game of the season, and Taysom is up in age, but you can make a argument that those four guys were incredibly impactful and productive for the Saints. When Taysom Hill's catching passes, whether he's running the football, blocking for you, and all this type of stuff, Taysom is a weapon. So they kind of look at it and say, let's retool up because maybe we can have a jump like the Patriots for this upcoming season. Could the Saints have that? That's yet to be determined. So what do we do? Dependent free agency, talked about that, getting those guys back. Wide receiver at the position. The Saints need another playmaker. Chris Olave is the superstar. Divine Belly looked like a stud after Rashid Shaheed was traded, but the Saints need more. They can go to the draft route and take someone like Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State with the 8th pick in the draft. If the Saints don't draft someone highly, they need to look to free agents or trade market, trade market for a number 2 option in free agency, considering Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, or someone to consider on the trade block or free agency if released, right? And of course, like I said, we'll go back and address each one of these in the draft. Again, taking a receiver should be an option with the number 8 pick. If the Saints don't like the receivers available, Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love somehow drops, he could be the pick. Getting a cost-controlled offensive weapon would be a good start in the first round. If not an offensive weapon, a pass rusher will be ideal. In summary, the Saints don't have a perfect roster by any means, but they can compete in the NFC South, keeping their veteran pending free agents, adding a big name number 2 wide receiver, at least one pass rush, and potentially a cornerback will be enough for the offseason to be perfect. Now, in respect to the writer, the interesting thing about the group is Demario Davis, Cam Jordan, I think those guys come back. Matter of fact, let me pull up this little information right here from Over the Cap that I want to share with you guys. You can see right here on screen. You can see for yourself here. This is the Saints 2026 free agents and the market value of the what they would deem as the annual market value for the Saints, or what they predict the value could be annually, for this team, for that particular player. And you can see the previous number, right, per year, right, 8.6 million for Demario Davis. But if you look at Alontae Taylor, 1.8 on the rookie contract. He's 27 years old. 1.8 on the rookie deal. Look at that annual market value is jumping from just under 2 to over $11 million. That's what they're looking at Alontae Taylor for. He's considered maybe the second. Some free agent list has him marked as the third, but some consider Alontae Taylor the second best cornerback in this free agency class, which means he'll get some attention, right? So according to a Sport Track, they're kind of averaging his market value at 11.1 mil. Now, that is interesting because what it does, it gives me, a barometer to say, okay, will I pay, let's say it's a 4-year deal at $44.5 million for Alontae Taylor, which is 11.1 or 11 million a year. Is that something that I'm easily to do? To be honest with you, if that is correct, and I think it could be more than that. I think actually it should be more than that. And the market will dictate the value. This is just their calculations of thinking how would it be in 2026 free agency market at 11.1 plus. Now, what's interesting about this whole dynamic is that if it's 11.1 mil for Alontae Taylor, I think I would pay that. I think I'll give him $11 million per year. It'd be like a 45 4 years at $45 million. And then, you probably have to work out whatever the guaranteed money of that is. But at the end of the day, Alontae Taylor to stay in the Saints defense at 44 or $45 million, which basically break down at just roughly over 11 million a year, to me is a good bet, right? That's a good bet. but I don't think it's going to be that cheap because because if you go back to when we lost Paulson Adebo to free agency, there was an idea that the Saints wanted to sign Paulson Adebo. They wanted him back until the Giants came along and said, "Hey, man, we'll give you $18 million a year." And the Saints said, "Oh, you have a nice life up there with the Giants." And I think he had one pick last year. So, and plus, of course, they got a new coach at Harbaugh now to kind of turn the thing around. But the Saints wasn't paying Paulson Adebo $18 million a year. They just wasn't going to do it. And of course, and the crazy part about it is Paulson Adebo has accrued more interceptions than Alante Taylor. Alante Taylor is a good defensive back, but his coverage skills is not all that. It really isn't. Right? He needs to work on his coverage. He'll come up and tackle and do all that kind of stuff. Love that. But over his time with the Saints, he has 4 years being with the Saints. He got like 4 picks. So it's like a pick a year. Paulson Adebo had 10. You see what I'm saying? He had 10. So what I'm saying is what elevates your market is your interceptions. If you're a person that get interceptions, they'll pay you for that. Like I've said before, touchdowns, whether you're running them or catching them or throwing them, get you paid. On a defensive side, sacks get you paid, whether you're a defensive lineman, linebacker, or even a safety. If you're a safety that get a high degree of sacks, then that bodes very well for you. But on the back end, as you get closer to the back of the defense, what really shines supreme is interceptions. So they'll pay you for interceptions, but have 4 interceptions over 4 years, averaging a pick a year. I don't know if they're going to be, not at least the Saints are going to say, okay, we're going to pay you $15 million a year. I just don't see that. Now I want Alante Taylor to stay, but he's unrestricted. The Saints have no control over where he goes, and totally is cool with him deciding and letting the market decide. Now, according to this, and I think this is a little depressed, but 11.1 is what they're saying that the market is. Now, this could go up because some teams will bid on his services, and that ultimately means that when that happens, then that'll elevate that number, and we'll see where he is because Alante's looking to get paid. Right? He's looking to get paid. And of course, Demario Davis. Demario Davis, 8.6 is what the previous AAV is. The market value has him at 9.4 million, just under $1 million increase for Demario Davis in terms of his AAV. Cam Jordan, that's just over 6 million after, this all this stuff happened last year with the restructures and all this kind of stuff. And you can see them saying that at 6.7. So whatever the elevated market is different for Demario and Cam based on the fact that they don't want to go anywhere. The Saints know there's no other team to balance them against from a leverage standpoint. Cam wants to finish as a Saint, so does Demario. So they'll be more inclined. I ain't saying give them a cheap deal, but still get your bread. But the Saints are going to look for a deal, a 1-year deal where it will kind of be respectful to both Demario and Cam and be efficient enough for the Saints to still be able to function to build the team because these veterans coming back for one more again. They believe in the Saints offense. They think that this team could get into the playoffs and maybe make a push on it. But once again, that's totally contingent about how the Saints handle free agency and the draft. That's the bottom line. Do they really see the needs that need to be met is the question. Do you really see that you need help internally with that offensive line? Do you see you need help at both guard spots? Do you see you need a reliable center backup option because Eric McCoy keeps getting hurt? Do you really see these things, or are you just playing games? If you really want to fortify, you can beef up the line like the Saints. Like I said before, when the other previous guy left, he did not lead the coverage bare. He didn't have a lead at the QB position. You got one now to wrap around the team, right? And growing and getting better. All you have to do is you have to beef up your offensive line with depth as well as replacing the guards, get a bona fide, you already got the center in Luke Fortner. Luke Fortner shouldn't cost a lot of money. Matter of fact, let's jump to Luke Fortner now. Luke Fortner, 27.7. That's what they're saying about Luke Fortner, but he's on that rookie deal. Off the rookie deal, now unrestricted free agent. He might get some takers that's looking at Luke Fortner because he played really well in Eric McCoy's absence. He played really well. Toward the back end, he really started to get the hang of it as a part-time starter. But you can see his numbers at 1.5 according to Sport Track, and then of course the market value at 6 million a year. Do you pay that for Luke Fortner? Do you give Luke Fortner a 3-year deal at 24 million? Would that sound about right for a quality backup center like Luke Fortner? Would you give him that? You know, a 3-year, $24 million deal, or a 3-year, $25 million deal for Luke Fortner. I will pay that for a quality reserve lineman that I can use to bring in there that knows the system, that played the games. And if McCoy steps out, he knows the protections, he knows what's to do. I'll pay that kind of money for a backup center, because if McCoy gets hurt again, you're going to need somebody that knows the snap count that the quarterback worked with from the past, so you don't have a problem trying to get another guy to do it. So I would pay Luke Fortner 3 years, 25 million to hang around. I certainly would. Do you get? So anyway, and then of course Foster Moreau, I would say sayonara to Foster. We can do better. Dylan Redunce, the same thing, and Taysom Hill, who have an injured shoulder, who is 36 years of age. Man, listen, that's an interesting dilemma within itself. But like if you journey down the rest of this list, you can see the ERFAs, or the restricted exclusive rights free agents, as they're called. We got 4 of those in a row. Zaire Mitchell Payton, which I can't say one way or the other, one way whether you should see him. We didn't see enough of him. Kai Kroger kind of faded on the back end, and if I was the Saints, I would bring Kai Kroger back, because these exclusive right free agent deals are usually pretty cheap, which means that the Saints will probably more than likely sign all of these guys back. To get Zaire Mitchell Payton back, to get Kai Kroger back, and then bring competition from free agency or undrafted status to bring him in here after the draft is over. We bring an undrafted guy to kick up against him. They might bring back the other punter that he barely beat out, and bring him back and let him try it again. Because I actually thought that last punter, before they settled on Kai Kroger, I actually thought it was going to be the other punter who won the job, not Kroger. And that surprised me. Rajon Wright and Isaiah Stallbird, no doubt about it. I think all the restricted right free agents are coming back. That because the contracts are cheap. And then when you get beyond some of the top money guys we talked about, like Luke Fortner and all these other guys, this is what you got remaining. You got John Ridgeway, who the Saints traded for from the Commanders to get here. Spent a lot of time on the inactive list. He was hurt for a little bit, came back, big guy. Won't be expensive to bring, so it'd be interesting to look at him. Chris Rump II. Is it time for Fadil Diggs to step in? Chris Rump II really provided some good depth for the defense, and maybe you don't want to upset certain things. Like I can see guys like Chris Rump II, Jonathan Bullitt. They already signed Julian Blackman back to provide safety support back there and whatnot. Jonathan Bullitt, definitely, I believe he should sign back. Ugo Amadi, could be, because he's a good special team guy that helps out in the fire plug. Chris Rump II should be brought back, unless you want to go with Fadil Diggs. John Ridgeway, probably not. I like John Ridgeway, but there are other options. You've seen Vernon Brockton and other guys that's going to step up, so the minutes might be kind of slacking on him. But like I said, some of these guys are going to have contracts that are inexpensive, and it'll be cool to see. But Jonathan Bullard played. I think we really should sign Jonathan Bullard back. I really like how he played in the defense. He was good with the run. He also provided support. He also caused Divine Gajo to be demoted on the defensive interior, because Bullitt was out there playing. And these are guys that were later on additions by Coach Staley. He added these guys, Chris Rump and Jonathan Bullitt and Jonah Williams, guys like that, and had them brung to the team. So anyway, that's some of the guys to kind of talk about, family, in terms of what we do and what is the market value, the AAV, for some of these guys according to Sport Track. 11.1 seems depressed to me, in meaning it's a little low, and maybe when the market starts, you can see that number elevate based on how many teams will compete for Alontae Taylor's service. So you see that market value rise a bit. It's the only Saint that we have that's has an AAV over double digits. Everybody else is veterans and whatnot. that we should be able to sign back at an inexpensive rate, giving them more money than they got before, but still in all fortifying the depth. And this is one of the free agency cycles right here where the Saints really don't have a lot of people to do. They got a lot of people that were valuable on this list that will not break the bank. The only one here that you're looking at that will probably have more of an elevated contract to spin on, because you already got Chris Olave under contract, as Alontae Taylor. If you want Alontae Taylor back, I would spend $12 million. I don't think it's going to stay there. I think it'll get north of $15 million. But I think the Saints have a limit on what they're going to willing to pay on Alontae Taylor, and feel comfortable that the market will be down enough for them to consider re-signing him. So just one more look for you guys to kind of take a look at right here on this list to see if you guys understand. Man, we ain't working. We ain't got a lot going on at all when you talk about this sort of stuff here. Now, like I said, we just talked about this. We bounce it back and just kind of go into it because, like I said, those are the pending free agency. Now let's look at the wide receivers that is mentioned. The Saints have, another playmaker. Chris Olave is the star. Divine Valley's there. Rashid Shaheed is traded. Saints need more. They go to the draft route. You're talking about Jordan Tyson. I like Carnell Late better than Jordan Tyson. I would not spend the 8th pick on Jordan Tyson. I'm sorry, I just wouldn't. That's just me. I think if nobody else is there, there are other more higher players on my board that I will go with. That is not named Jordan Tyson. Now, don't get me wrong, Jordan Tyson is a phenomenal player, but I don't think the top need for the Saints is wide receiver. If you want to really seriously want Tyler Shuck to be protected and have access to the running game, you might want to give him weapons in that spear. Right. And I think the Saints will attack that in free agency once they restructure all these double digit contracts and Divine Gacho and Isaac Yidam and some of these other guys. Once they start restructuring those contracts, you're going to see the Saints get north, because I think right now, let me see over the cap right now, showing you right now what the cap figure is for the team. You can see for yourself right here that cap is 20.3 mil, man. $20.3 million right now in the red. So the Saints will have to be about the business of chopping that down, which they will do later on. And then what will end up happening is the Saints will have probably north of anywhere between 20 to $30 million in free agency money. Might be more depending on how many contracts they do, because they can do a bunch of contracts. Like looking right here, how Mickey usually do them, he chops these contracts down very fine. Like Chase Young's going to get restructured, and his base salary this year is 14.8. They can whittle that down and for a couple of $1 million and save like $12 million on Chase Young's deal, depending on how fast they can, what they want to do to kind of restructure. You're going to see a restructure on Cam. On Chase. You're going to see 11.5 from Elvin Kamara get chopped down, restructured. Carl Grandison 10.7 restructured. Eric McCoy 10 million restructured. Chris Olave at 15.4 plus in this option year. But the bottom line is they'll get a contract done, and that first year probably drop it less than $2 million. So you'll save money there as well. They'll restructure Ruiz's contract. They'll if they need to go and Justin Reed restructure him, and Jawan Johnson, as well as Divine Gacho and Pete Werner. It depends on how far Nate Shepard and his 3.9 million. They'll just keep chopping down if they need to, right? And do it like that. And then if they go that far into the roster, the Saints could probably free up something north of $30 million, depending on how far they chop it. They can really put a lot of money there. And we've seen this before where he restructured damn near everybody's contract and ended up with a bunch of money, but that kicks into the future, which the Saints don't have any problem with paying any dead money. As you can see right here on the dead money toll right here, the Saints have over $65 million in dead money, and the largest offender of this list is Derek Carr's 36.6 plus. You see? So, like I said, man, the Saints feeling pretty comfortable because they're getting good value out of some of these players, and a lot of the guys, older veterans that want to come back, like Demario Davis and Cam Jordan. These guys are not incredibly expensive, are going to be expensive for the Saints, meaning they can spend some of that money where they need to, meaning internally on the defense. And then when you go into the offense, the idea, the philosophy is try to find as much as you can find the need for in free agency without having to spend a lot. Like you can go and get a big chip. Like the Saints can go and say, okay, we really feel good. We needed to get somebody here. I think the left guard could be a position where the Saints say, let's spend some money right there. We got our quarterback in the future of Tyler Shuck. Let's spend some money at the left guard position. And then maybe in the draft, they can go into that position as well in the second or third round, preferably in the third round, and see if they can find an offensive lineman there that they can put into there and kind of compete with Cesar Ruiz. And like I said before, and we'll get into the offensive line. But I just think that'll be the move. Now, in terms of the wide receivers, let's stay on course with the wide receivers because Chris Olave is good. He will be healthy for the start of the season. So with Devon Valley, the Saints gave up draft picks. And also, don't forget this article, I ain't going to say it ignores, but it does not mention Jalen Polk. The Saints gave up a 6th-round pick for a 2nd-round talent. The guy been in the league for 2 years. And Tyler Shuck talked about him in one of the interviews. He's on a frenzy right now doing all these different interviews. But he mentioned Jalen Polk. He talked about him. They went fishing, all this kind of stuff, saying how he's studying film and how they're going to be working with Drew Brees in the offseason. So I think the Saints feel comfortable with the wide receivers they assembled. Like getting Devine Valley was a good move. He's a big physical wide receiver. He caught some difficult catches. Getting Jalen Polk, who is not a fast burner of a wide receiver, but he runs good routes. He blocks. I love his attitude, and he makes tough catches. You can count on him. So, I can see, and of course, like I said, the Saints wide receiver room, they have 11 wide receivers or so. I want to say either 11 or 12. Y'all correct me in the chat. Wide receivers they currently have on the team. I mean, none of them outside of the top 3 we talk about are like big names that you might know. It's Kevin Austin Jr., it's several other guys, but that's on the squad. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is, as a team, right? As a team, the New Orleans Saints doing more than enough. They have wide receivers there. I don't see it as in, man, I ain't gonna say it's a point that you need to go after with the first round. Like it ain't like a player like I like Carnell Tate, but like I said, I would be more inclined to look elsewhere. But when we talk about wide receivers, let me just name all of them so I won't leave nobody out. Damian Moose Alford, that's the 6'6", 210-pound rookie Utah wide receiver they picked up. He was the last one they picked up, right? That's Kevin Austin Jr., 6'2", 200 pounds. There's Ronnie Bell, who's 6 feet, 200 pounds from Michigan. Elijah Cook, 6'4", 215. Chris Olave's in the mix. Pettis is a free agent. Samari Toure is 6'1", 200 pounds. He's also in the mix. And then there are other guys to kind of talk about that's lesser mentioned guys that's on the practice squad or the injury reserve. You're talking about Bub Means, 6'2", 215. Bub Means is going to be healthy. Trey Palmer, the third-year man from Nebraska, 6'1", 190. The dude can run. He's a speed demon. Remember, the Saints picked him up hurt, too. The Saints got both Jalen Polk. I think they claimed Trey Palmer, if I'm not mistaken. They claimed him off of waivers or something like that. I have to look it up, or perhaps they signed him. I forgot how they acquired him. But hold on, fam. Give me a second. I forgot how they signed. I think they signed him somewhere. Let me be familiar if they didn't claim him or something, or how that went. Hold on here. Let me look, because Trey Palmer can't be overlooked either. That dude he got skills, man. He got skills too. So he was talking about Palmer. I'm trying to figure out how we got him. Because like I said, yeah, they claimed him. That's what I thought, man. Back in late August, they claimed him off the wire, and some kind of way he was hurt. Yeah, it happened back in August 27th of last year. Yeah, the NFL office Saints added wide receiver, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer wide receiver Trey Palmer, off the waiver wire, and then they released a couple of players to make room for him. Also, additionally, the Saints picked up Denver Bronco offensive lineman Xavier Truss, who signed with Denver as a rookie free agent. So when they claimed two guys, they claimed Xavier Truss, and they also claimed Trey Palmer off the waiver wire. And Trey Palmer got hurt, and after that he was shelved, and he's still on the team. So yeah, that's how they ended up with him. I just wanted to get a little backdrop because I forgot how they got him. But yeah, there you go. So anyway, there's him. Bub Means is Trey Palmer, Jalen Polk, Mason Tipton. We talked about Devon Belly. So they have a lot of wide receivers available, right? A lot of guys coming off the free agent list. Like I said, Jalen Polk, 6'1", 203, second year man. So it's like he played in his first year, didn't play a lot for the Patriots, and the Saints gave them a 6th round pick for the man, and they basically got a 2nd round talent, and it was a futuristic move for the team. I'm sorry, the Saints gave them a 7th round pick. Hold on, there was the Polk. Hold on, that was 4 months ago. The Patriots traded Polk, who had a shoulder issue, and a 2028 7th round pick, 2028, to the Saints for the Saints 2027 pick. So it's not even the 6th round pick this year. It's next year's pick, the 27 for Polk. So the Saints, they got a 7th round pick and Polk, and they gave up a 6th round pick for 2027 to get Deshaun Polk. So, like I said, he doesn't have full speed, but if you watch the footage of him at Washington and how he used to play, he's faster than what he looks. And like I said, man, I think the Saints they got some stuff. So anyway, the reason I'm bringing that up because I think people, when they write some of these articles, they could talk about Devon Belly, they could talk about Chris Olave, but they're forgetting Jalen Polk is in the mix, and Jalen Polk will be a part of those wide receivers. He won't be one of these guys that's not going to play. Jalen Polk will be a part. He will be a member and a contributor to the Saints wide receiver room. Now, with all those names I said, there's other guys that maybe you can throw. It wouldn't be bad if you throw a veteran in there, but to say you're going to spend some money on a tier 1 guy or tier 2, I can see a Saints getting a tier 3 guy. Or if they can get the guy for the right price, maybe you do that, because if you're going to swing for the fences, you might want to get you a veteran. He can do nothing but help with the Saints system. If that's the case, I have no problems against that at all. But I do think the Saints, in their minds to a degree, have the 3 wide receivers that they want to go into the future with: Devon Belly, Chris Olave, and Polk. And then you have all these other guys that they're also interested in as well. So we'll see how that shifts. But the guy I mentioned, 249 wide receivers, and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. None of them guys is going to be cheap. And both of those guys come with injury concerns. I like, maybe getting somebody else, a big physical wide receiver there, but we'll see how they deal with it, right? And of course, they talk about the draft. They talk about option. I don't think we should take a wide receiver with the number 8 position. If Jeremiah Love is there, I'm taking him. I'm just going to be honest with you because of the overall long view. Because obviously, the Saints showing you that they're a team that are a futurist to a degree if they're claiming guys and then and making trades for players, and the player can't contribute this year and he'll be ready for next year. Obviously, they're forward thinking. So if that's the case, that logic will continue. If you're picking number 8 and you have an opportunity to get a back that some people will argue was better than the last back that was taken in last year's draft, or about the same way, and you get them at 8, and damn well the Saints is not going to be picking at 8 after they start building up on this team. So you can get a knockdown, drag out, star type talent to go along with Tyler Shuck. So if you're going to do that, you get him a weapon like that running back, and that guy will be with Tyler Shuck for the majority of his football career. It take pressure off of the quarterback, right, to hand the ball over to a guy that's a just an absolute playmaker. You'll have Elvin Kamara to mentor him, and it provides security and excitement about the Saints offense to have another spark plug added to the offense, and then the Saints just keep on moving along. So if Love is there, I'm taking him. If Love is not there, and it depends on what they're doing for agency, if we don't get Alontae Taylor, we get somebody else. But usually, I can see the Saints trying to appease all they need. So Alontae Taylor needs to be resigned. If not, then you go with somebody else. We see how it works. A veteran wide receiver in free agency, a starting left guard, probably a tier one guard. The Saints will go for the plug in between Kelvin Banks Jr. and Eric McCoy, and possibly maybe drafting or signing another guard to compete with Cesar Ruiz at the right guard position. Now let's focus on that for a second, right? Let's kind of focus on that for a second, because we're going to then move into guys that we should sign, or things or moves that should be made on the next article, right? But that's a point too. Cesar Ruiz position needs to be opened up for. He needs to, even though he's listed as a starter, there needs to be an open competition for his job for 2026, for this year. There needs to be, maybe if the Saints get a left guard there and they bring a guy, they need to open that up, is what I'm saying. We need to open that up, because we need competition now, and there's no trade value or market for Cesar Ruiz. There needs to be competition to see if he can rise up to the level of competition to play. We need him to, because he gets beat way too often. His technique is flawed. We need another player there to compete with him for that right guard position. So we need to open up that spot for competition, is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Re-sign Luke Fortner, signed a couple of guards, a guy that can play that left guard, the starter, a top to tier one guy, and a tier two guy to compete with Ruiz, or draft the guy. We also still have to deal with depth around it, because we have a lot of offensive linemen that's coming off in injuries, and the Saints still have to address that some kind of way. But anyway, let's keep it going. It's on to the next article here. These are the 5 extensions and re-signing Saints must consider this offseason. Shout out to Ross. He penned this on LouisianaSports.net. And he talked about 5 more extensions of re-signing Saints must consider as free agency. Alontae Taylor sticking with the secondary. Taylor is one of the biggest names the Saints have to consider. The trick will find a contract value for him that makes sense for both sides. The Saints want Taylor to continue playing the slot, the star role, but he could fetch a large sum on the open market as an outside corner. Like we said before, the slot number, Alontae Taylor's a guy who can play inside, outside. And if the contract is north of, I would, what would the Saints be cool with playing? Like I say, I estimated months 11, 12, 13 million. Me personally, what would be, the stopping point? With, like, I ain't paying you 15 million a year, bro. You only got 4 picks. I would probably say, I said 11, 12, maybe 13. I'll go as high as 13 million for Alontae. I guess 12 or 13 million. Just call me sentimental. I like him out. He works well in the defense. Maybe, that. But anything north of that, I would just be like, I'm going to just probably pivot and get Mansour Delaney. Or if Caleb Downs is there, I'm going to take him. You see what I'm saying? Because I know if I get Caleb Downs, he's going to give me them interceptions. If I get Caleb Downs, I'm getting them interceptions. I can put him at that cornerback spot. I can use him as a safety. I can have him play that star role and have a larger ceiling, right? Better athlete, he will get those interceptions. But like I said, that's why I stopped with Alontae Taylor. He's gonna look to get paid, so I'm gonna rank him as the second best cornerback in free agency. We'll see how it goes. We'll see. Chris Olave, the only player to make this list without an expiring contract. Olave's extension potential has been well noted all season long. Conversations have been ongoing. The deal is likely to be the biggest the Saints hand out this offseason. Should an agreement be reached? If not, Olave still can play on his 5th-year option before the team and the representatives head back to the negotiating table for 2027. It'll sour a bit. You don't want to piss him off, but we'll see. However, judging by the connection between him and rookie quarterback Tyler Shuck, as well as the strong season he just completed, getting this deal done sooner than later might be the best interest of the organization. Otherwise, his price tag could quickly skyrocket. If they would have got it done earlier, before his numbers were got to the back where he was actually elevating numbers, you could have got that like 2 months before, right, the end of the season. Like they were negotiating this stuff well into earliest, the rumors circulated early in the start of the regular season. You heard it then when we got into the season, 2 or 3 weeks into it, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. You start hearing rumors, and then you start hearing the Saints toward the middle of the year start really admitting to that they're having discussions. If the Saints would have closed then, I think that they would have gotten a better deal than what they were going to get with him completing and breaking everything else because he had yet to fulfill his statistical milestones. That would have been better then, but the Saints waited to see if he could. Now that you waited, you got to pay. You got to pay. And Chris Olave is going to want $25 million a year at least. If he signs a 5-year deal at what is it, $125 million, this is going to be a huge contract for Chris Olave. A huge contract. He's gonna want big money. He got some of these players that's north of 25 million. And this is going to be a huge contract for the Saints and Chris Olave. He's at 15 million right now, and you're gonna want at least 20. You're gonna want at least 25 million a year. So at the end of it, you might be looking, if it's a 5-year agreement, you might be looking at $120+ million 4 or 5 year deal. If it's 4 years, you're looking at least 100 million. If it's 5, it's 120 plus for him at least, and I'm saying at least because it starts at 20, ain't it? Not 20, but 25. That's what he's looking at. I promise you that's what he's looking at because he getting a lot of that. And like I showed you guys on the previous stream, you look at some of these other wide receivers, that's how they be looking at each other. And he said, we don't be doing that. We don't be paying attention to all that bull crap. Bull crap. They are watching each other get paid. And then they use other people's contract to say, man, I'm better than this guy. And then that guy, and that's how they get broke off. That's how they get the money. That is how it works. Hold on for a second. Let me pull it up right here because I had the numbers before on, the teams and who making what according to each position. And it's not cheap. Some of these guys that he's going to end up with is going to be pretty pricey, man, just to be honest with you. It's going to be pretty pricey. I mean, look at this. Check this out. And I showed you this before, but fam, listen to this. That's how you see what they're going to do. Now check this out. This is the wide receiver. This is the current list of NFL wide receiver contracts. You can see right here, Jamar Chase is over 40 million a year, right? 73.9 of it guaranteed at 26 years of age. Justin Jefferson is second, followed by CeeDee Lamb. DK Metcalf, now he goes from 40. He's the only $40 million wide receiver. Rich is in the game with that. 35 flat by Justin Jefferson from the Vikings. 34 flat a year for CeeDee Lamb. This is a year for CeeDee Lamb. DK Metcalf is almost 33 million for the Steelers. Garrett Wilson, who he played with in college, or his college teammate with the Jets, is at 32.5 mil. AJ Brown is 32. Amon St. Brown from Detroit is 30. Tyreek Hill is 30. Brandon Ayuk is 30 million. That's what I'm like, man, what you talking about signing Brandon Ayuk? That man is not cheap. You're going to have to go tier 2 with that. Terry McLaurin is at 29 million, right? T. Higgins is 28.7. I didn't know T. Higgins was making that kind of money for the Bengals. And you got Jamar Chase making 40.2 and T. Higgins making 28.7. And that's a lot of bread. Jalen Waddle, the Dolphin wide receiver, 28.2. DJ Moore from the Bears is 27.5. Jameson Williams from the Lions, another Lion receiver, on that with 26.6. Devontae Smith, the Eagles wide receiver, at 25 flat a year. Nico Collins from the Texans is 24.2. Deebo Samuel is sitting on this list at 23.8 million. Michael Pittman, the Colts wide receiver, is 23.3. Cortland Sutton, the Broncos wide receiver, is 23 million. Kelvin Ridley is 23 million. Devontae Adams from the Rams is 22 million flat. So is Chris Godwin at 22 million. Stephon Diggs for the Patriots is 21.1. Mike Evans is making 20.5. Jacoby Myers from the Jags is making 20 a year. And then everything underneath that, Christian Kirk, Jerry Jeudy, Cooper Kupp, Khalil Shakur, Darnell Mooney, Rashad Bateman, Darius Slayton, all these guys are less than that, right? So when you look at what I'm saying, Chris Olave is going to be, he's going to be up here with Devontae Smith. He's going to, I'm just going to be honest with you. He is going to want more than 25 million a year, right? His buddy and Garrett is in the 30s. So I'm saying I'm being conservative. I'm saying at the end of the day, when you really ball it down and get to brass tacks, I'm telling you straight off the bat that the New Orleans Saints he's going to command at least 25 a year. He's going to command at least 25 a year. At least 25 a year. And I'm telling you, that money going to be at least $125 million. 125, and if it's a 5-year deal, because if I sign Chris Olave, I sign him to like a 5-year deal, right? Make him a Saint for life. If that's indeed the case, and it's 25 million a year at least, and that's base numbers, man, that puts him at 125 million. That puts him up there as in terms of the wide receivers. That'll make him the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, make him the 5th, maybe the 6th. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it'd make him the 6th highest paid wide receiver in the game at 125 million in terms of that, right? He'll be making that because he'll be making 125 million. That'd make him 6th in the NFL in terms of the total value of his contract, which would still be a steal for the Saints at 25 million. But this deal is not going to be cheap. I'm just going to be honest with you. He balled out big time. He met all of his statistical indications. Not only that, but he also answered questions about his health and where he could be relied upon. Plus, he built a very good chemistry with Tyler Shuck. So at the end of the day, if you're the New Orleans Saints, you're gonna pay this man. He got, like I said, 25 million a year is actually, that's the cheapest. It's actually going to be anywhere more than that. I would even surmise it'll be anywhere between 25 and $30 million a year for him. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. It's going to be something else, man. I'm telling you, this contract is not going to be cheap. It really isn't. Right? All right. Anyway, let's go back to the article, man. Cam Jordan, with the structure, his contract set to void in the final days of the league year. That's March the 10th. The potential future Hall of Fame famer should be absolutely back. The challenge here at the age of 35 is Jordan's entering the contract year after piling 10.5 sacks. So does the team pay him like a 36-year-old, or does it pay him like a double-digit sack getter? What's the in-between? That's a great question. This will be one of the most intriguing contract negotiations across the league for those who enjoy geeking out over contracts like we do. Now, the reality is that's a great question. And the point is, it's a 1-year deal. So, no, you're not going to pay Cam like a 10.5 sack guy, right? That will usually come with a multiple year agreement. It's already understood that Cam wants to play for 1 year. So it would have to be, and really, if this, depending on how the Saints craft the restructures, if the Saints restructure all of the players that we just talked about that's on that list, right? The restructure list when I talked about Elvin and all these Jason, Carl, Granderson, Eric McCoy, Cesar Ruiz, Divine Gacho, Nate Shepard, Yedem. You see what I'm saying? On and on. If they went through that entire list and restructured all those guys, the Saints can have enough money to pay off Cam at the end of for his final year of the contract. But I'm saying both Cam and Double D want to be here, so there's no leverage in so far as with these contracts. Usually when contracts come up is usually other teams provide leverage. Now, if there is a ghost team that steps in that's interesting and whatnot, But we know already that Demario Davis and Cam Jordan do not want to pay for anybody else except for the Saints. So that's no leverage there. So what I see is happening is I don't think it'll be an unfair contract for Cam. I don't think it'll be an unfair contract for Double D. I think it'll be a respectable agreement. It won't be the league value average because that's disrespectful. I think that you pay him appropriately, but also in respect to the team. So it'll be a balanced deal for both players to come back for an additional year because we still have to be about the business of getting players to build on the team. And I don't think that they want to get in that way in terms of the money, right? So in terms of DeMario, not many players set a career high in tackles in their 14th year while having a productive player over the course of over the course of their career. Davis could very well be in the Big Easy next year as well, but like Jordan finding the contract do so won't be easy. Davis' leadership and impact off the field can't be understated, and that's why you give him the deal. But like I said, these are gentlemen that's older and in the back end. They have 1 year. They already agreed upon. They're going to play for an additional 1 year. That will be in harmony with the team, and it'll be both a responsible deal for both the team and the players. The stuff like that actually happens. And of course, we talk about this as well. Luke Fortner. Fortner should be back in black and gold again next year. I said it you got to. This guy was a very good pickup. This is a very underestimated trade. Like of all the trades that the Saints made on the offense, period, all the trades we made last year, whether it was getting Divine Valley, trade for Jalen Polk, trade for Divine Gacho, whatever the trade that, Akeem Richards, because we did a trade for the Texans to get Akeem Richards, the backup tackle, right? Out of all those trades, one of the most underestimated trade that the Saints did is when they sent your boy Bink Saunders, sent him packing to the Jacksonville Jaguars for them to get Luke Fortner in return. That was a great deal. I ain't gonna say great, but it was a good deal. They won in handily because the Jaguars end up putting Bink Saunders on the street. He ended up with the Jets. So the Jags had some success last year, but Bink wasn't there to enjoy it. He went to the Jets, and he looked terrible and unhappy when we played the Jets. Remember that? We kicked the Jets' teeth in. He was over there sitting on the side looking sad. But that goes to show you that how good the trade was to get Luke Fortner, because when McCoy keep getting hurt, we need a quality center. And let me say this, fam. That would be a quality move. The Saints really need to get that done because Luke Fortner not only stepped in, he knew how to orchestrate the offense. He knew this. He was working with Tyler Shuck, so they got a chemistry, a synergy. He understands what the offense is doing. He can call out the same protections if he need to and guide guys and talk to people. He did a very good job at the center position. He set right into that. So there's a comfortability having Luke Fortner to play those games, those 8 games that McCoy missed, and stepped in there and performed well. Getting him back is big because you can count on him if or when, hopefully he won't, McCoy will miss time because he's missing all of these damn games. It's 24 games in 4 years, 20 games in 2 years. It's just too much. So what he's saying is Fortner should be back in the black and gold next year. The Saints offense absolutely bottomed out with starting center McCoy, and it is bottomed out going back to 2024. We don't have to go back that far. In 2025, the Saints offensive line looked like crap with him in there when the starters was in there. Now you can say that they were still trying to learn how to play and all this stuff, and I grant you that. But at the end of the day, Eric McCoy it cannot be relied upon in the way we used to rely upon him in the past. We can't do that no more. We can't make him be the center point of the offensive line because he's not available. He's constantly missing time, and he don't miss 1 or 2 games. He misses 8 games. He misses half the season. And listen, I'm not faulting him because the lot of these injuries, they could possibly be out of his hands, right? Some of them, maybe he could train better. Maybe he need to stretch more. I don't know. But the reality, what I do know is that he's not available in the way that we need him to be so we can have a stable offense. So if you're going to continue to keep McCoy, who I believe is under another 2 years with the Saints, you need to get Luke Fortner here. New Orleans was unable to absorb the loss and stay afloat much better thanks to Fortner. Having insurance to help protect against further injuries across the interior is never a bad idea. Luke Fortner excelled. He picked up that offense later on, and he worked really well with Tyler Shuck. And then they even had a running game with Luke Fortner in there with him. They had multiple backups, and they still were able to run the ball without Elvin Kamara, Kendre Miller, or Devin Neal. They had Audric Estime up in there running the ball, the fourth string running back, behind three backup offensive linemen in and out of the lineup. The Saints were still able to keep a balance to win games and keep the pressure off of Tyler Shuck. Fortner deserves to get re-signed. Hopefully they see that. And of course, honorable mention, he mentions Taysom Hill, a tough one to gauge because of the injury history and retirement potential. To do it all, incredible run and career in New Orleans. That run may be coming to an end. The Hill game plan wasn't the same with the new offensive personnel and staff, and another injury hit Hill as the season ended. An AC joint injury. It's hard to picture his future in New Orleans right now, though not impossible. Yeah, I don't think Taysom Hill comes back. I think we move on from Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill will be 36 or something like that next year. Plus, he had that injury, which will take time to heal. I don't think it'll be special to get him back, but it got to be at a right price because he was making a lot of money. Taysom Hill was making a lot of money the last several years, and that falls off the books. And with him being hurt, and he'll more than likely be hurt to start the season. I don't see why the Saints would want to do that. Just need to move in another direction. And I remember he was crying at the press conference. I do think that he knew that this would be his last year with the Saints too, because he was kind of you could see he was upset and sad. All right, anyway, let's keep this thing. Y'all hit that like button, man. Remember, this broadcast is brought to you by FanDuel, man. Remember that, y'all. If y'all got to make your picks and you got to do what you got to do, you got to go and do it with FanDuel. AFC, NFC championships coming up, you guys need to check it out, man. They got the best TD prop bets in the AFC and NFC championship game. They got that going on. So we'll cover that on the back end, right? When we get going. Anyway, let's get into this article right here. NFC South coaching carousel as we move forward. Y'all hit that like button, man. Shout out to Saints Wire talking about it. NFC South teams have not made changes to their coaching staffs as of 1 p.m. on Thursday, January 22nd. The Carolina Panthers, who finish in first place, Saints, who finish in last, while some familiar faces are returning. Both the Falcons and Buccaneers are actively filling out their coaching staffs in hopes of turning things around for this season. Panthers assistant, like defensive coordinator Evero, has interviewed for promotions elsewhere, so change could be coming to Carolina. But the Saints haven't shown any public urgency to build a better coaching staff. Coach Kellen Moore gave his staff a week and a half off to recharge and spend time with their families. And after the regular season ended, coaches returned to their offices Tuesday, January the 20th, and evaluations are ongoing. But it remains to be seen how Moore could shake up his staff, if at all, will be keeping up with the NFC teams and what they're up to. So this is a couple of updates that he's providing for the Saints staff. And the only thing that I could possibly see with the Saints doing is special teams coordinator. I think Phil Galliano had a disastrous time. Of course, he did lose JT Gray. He did lose Blake Grupe in the center of the season. They got a new kicker there. They also, Kai Kroger kind of struggled. The coverage teams wasn't all that. And out of all of the position or the offense, defense, and special teams, Phil Galliano really didn't look that good, right? And Kellen Moore brought in his own people everywhere else. The majority of the guys he's comfortable with. I think he could probably do better than Phil Galliano, but it's yet to be determined. We'll see. So right now, it is what it is. The obvious area the Saints need to improve with special teams. Galliano's crew fielded kicking units that ranked in the bottom half of the league in almost every metric. Bottom 5 in key stats like net yards per punt and field goal hit rate. There are plenty of good candidates out there, but for now, the Saints haven't tipped their hands on whether or not they want to make a move here. I like Phil Galliano. Do you give him an opportunity to kind of turn around, or do you pivot and go in a different direction? Because he's right. Remember the block kick that we had as well in the Atlanta Falcon game? So, I mean, it's a lot of stuff that stinks with Phil Galliano's crew. This is a good opportunity to make the change if you're Kellen Moore. We'll see. On to the Atlanta Falcons. You know, they got a new coach, Kevin Stefanski, offensive coordinator. It's Tommy Reese, and they kept Jeff Ulbrich. They don't have a special teams coordinator yet. Falcons made one of the year's first coaching hires by Landon Stefanski, a two-time coach of the year. He's already brought some of his former Cleveland Brown assistants with him, but Stefanski is keeping the defensive staff largely intact. He inherited a good defense and is trusting those coaches to maintain high expectations while getting Atlanta offense right. Now with Steph, it feels like for them like a Dennis Allen type move from an offensive standpoint, right? Right? Because you keep the defensive guy there, you're gonna bring in a special teams coordinator. He's tasked with getting the quarterback situation right in Atlanta. Yeah, they got a lot of tools. They might lose a few people in free agency, Kyle Pitts, possibly Tyler Algieri, right? So the defense is trending on the upside. Special teams has some issues, but in the end of the day, they think Stefanski could be the answer for that. But all I see him do is stink in terms of QBs, you know. And to make it, very interesting is the fact that free agency, there's not really any great free agent quarterbacks out there. You know, to be honest with you, there really isn't nothing going on. You got Jones there. He's coming off an injury, so he might not be available. Aaron, Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, really? It's just a lot of stuff going on. So there's not a lot of greatness out there right now. And some of the guys that might be, they're looking for could possibly end up somewhere. I mean, there is Malik Willis. There is Hendon Hooker. He's on. Those are two intriguing quarterbacks. Marcus Mariota, but not much else to shaking with Atlanta. So how do you fix the QB position? Do you go back to Kirk Cousins? You draft them, and there's not one higher enough in the draft that you could take to put in the place of Penix. So what do you do? I think it's a lot of stuff right there. If you needed a guy to do that, I think they could have done a better job than Stefanski. But then again, I applaud the Falcons getting Stefanski because it's going to be interesting. Now, in terms of the Carolina Panthers, who actually won a division, Dave Canellis is there. You can see there that they got Coach Brad on the offensive coordinator position. Evero is looking to leave. We'll see. And special teams coordinator is Tracy Smith. NFC South's only playoff team hasn't shaken things up yet, but they could be forced into if Evero lands a head coaching job elsewhere. Canellis has helped Bryce Young develop into a valuable starter, improved from 5-12 to 8-9 with a playoff berth, and year two has a lot of momentum behind the Panthers coach. He has a lot of stuff that he needs to build on, and that's why I say I think between the NFC South coming up next year and it'll be the Saints and the Panthers, because the Falcons still have a lot of stuff to figure out, and I think they'll be stagnant, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is finally heading in the opposite direction, right? So there's going to be some change on Todd Bowles' staff. So Zach Robinson, right? Zach Robinson is offensive coordinator. They don't have a defensive coordinator, Danny Smith special team. Bowles turned over almost his entire coaching staff after falling short in 25. With the new additions coming out of each coordinator spots and many positions, more changes on the way. But for now, these are the names to know. To be fair, to ask if this could be enough to save the future of Tampa Bay after losing 7 of 9 games. So getting rid of all of his coaches, bringing in Zach Robinson, changing things around. It's changes on the way. Then there's still, I think, Baker Mayfield. I think he has he got a year left on his deal. He wants a contract. So Mike Evans is a free agent. So they got stuff. They got some good wide receivers there, but a lot of stuff to fix on. I think Tampa Bay is right where they're supposed to be, right? And there you go, fam. That's a little a little update right there in terms of what's going on in the NFC South. I think it's time for the Saints to step up. That's why I'm saying building and getting the right pieces in free agency, building up that offensive line, and taking the best players available when the time comes, right? So there you go. All right, anyway, man, that's all I got for y'all today on the broadcast, man. Y'all hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and by all means, feel free to share the show on social media feed, man. Listen, I will be back sooner than later, man, to kind of talk to you guys about a little bit of everything that's going on with the Black and Gold Nation, man. As you understand, man, Big Q and the Sports Coma always representing. Shout out to our Patreon champions, our YouTube membership family. If you want to see the platform grow even further, please check out our Patreon. Go to patreon.com/the Pro Media Network. We got dozens of shows, a lot of content on Patreon as well as for our YouTube membership family. But if you want to really help the movement and help the show along over a decade plus in the game, the Sports Coma representing the mighty Who Dat Nation, join our Patreon, patreon.com/the Pro Media Network. We got some new merch that will be unrolling out to our pro shops and all this kind of stuff coming at you guys really soon. And also just to let you know, man, that the Sports Coma is brought to you by, that's right, FanDuel, right? That's the main sponsor of the show. And you guys can feel free to go to FanDuel. Y'all know how to get there, man, on the app or whatever. And you can go ahead on and place your best. Now they got this going on right here. Two best NFL touchdown props for the AFC and NFC championship games. They'll give you the line and tell you everything that you need to know for the prop bets and everything going on. As you see right here, RJ Harvey to score a touchdown. That's plus 120 there. And so it's a lot of stuff, man, some of the prop bets, and they'll kind of put you on the game and let you know what time it is. So it don't matter if it's NFL, NBA, or anything else. Check out FanDuel, the official sponsor of the Sports Coma. So with that being said, man, listen, I'm going to get out on that. Y'all hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and by all means, feel free to share the show on your social media feed. I appreciate y'all, man. I'm going to holler at y'all on the flip side. Much love, peace, and who that too.
Whether you're catching up on SaintsNews at Jackson Square, checking Pelicans scores in the Garden District, or staying updated on LSU while grabbing coffee in the French Quarter, there's one place that keeps you connected to everything that matters in our city. From Bourbon Street to the Superdome, from Preservation Hall to the Riverfront, New Orleanians are staying in the know with thewhodatdaily.com. Your daily source for Saints, Pelicans, LSU, and all the sports, music, and culture that makes our city special. At work downtown, at a game in the Dome, or just relaxing by the Mississippi, wherever life takes you in the Big Easy, you can stay connected. Because when you're from New Orleans, you don't just live here. You stay in the NO. That's stay in the know. Visit thewhodatdaily.com and never miss what matters most to Who Dat Nation.
Welcome to the Pro Shop, where we create authentic NOLA-inspired clothing for men, women, and children. From Saints jerseys to Pelicans gear, everything's crafted right here in New Orleans. Whether you're shopping the Pro Shop, the Pel Shop, or the Pro Shop Kids, we've got your whole family covered with genuine merchandise that represents our city's spirit. Check for links in the description section below.